Good morning, everyone. Today I have another craft I'm working on that I want to share. It's super easy. I finished this in probably half an hour, 45 minutes maybe. I purchased this cutting board at Target in the dollar spot. I think it was like $3 in the Target dollar spot. I got it home. I was going to use it as a regular cutting board, but then the back of it said that it's not, that you shouldn't put food on it. So I scratched that idea and I thought, well, I'm going to decorate it. And then I started thinking about what I would do with it. Uh, Eventually, it will be standing up like this, and there will be um, a piece of trim down here that has like a groove in it that will hold my tablet. So when I'm cooking, it's going to hold my tablet for recipes. My hands are so beat up. I'm so sorry. I have cut myself so many times on my hands this week. Anyway, so that's what it's going to be. It's going to be like an easel for my tablet. And I'm going to go through and tell you guys how I painted it. I sat here and went through some of the things I had to try to see um, what I wanted to work with when it came to like the easiest way of painting this. So I just did a wreath of laurel and then my initial, my first name initial in the middle. And if you want to make something similar, I'm going to show you some of the steps I took. So I got out a bowl and I just put it down there and I traced around it to get my circle. And I just hand drew the letter with a pencil. I drew everything with a pencil first. My air conditioning's kicking on, so I'm going to talk just a tad louder. Um, Sorry, guys. And so I drew the bowl on there. I didn't draw all these little leaves. I probably should have did that, but it turned out okay anyway. But if you do that, then it'll be more spaced evenly. If you like the things to be symmetric, I don't really mind. Um, so what I did is I took my black acrylic paint. I just used the cheap stuff from Walmart, and I went around the whole circle. And then I did the leaves in all black, and I waited for that to dry, and then I went over it with, let me show you the green I used. I don't think it's available anymore. It's an old Martha Stewart paint. It's called Pesto, and I went over it with this color. And if you wanted a similar like dark green like that, it's kind of a dark sagey green. If you wanted that similar color, you could mix a little gray or brown in with your green. You can experiment with color mixing and see what you come up with, if you like it or not. So I painted it the dark green. I went over the black, and then I left a little bit of border of the black. So I did the dark green. And then after I did the dark green, I wanted some more dimension. So I took all of my green and I put it in with what I had left over white right here. And I mixed this lighter green. And then I went in with the lighter green and did the leaves in the lighter green. It's kind of hard to tell. Let me see if I can find one where you can actually see. You can sort of see it with this one right here. The darker green's on the outside, and then there's a lighter green in the middle. And then after I got done with the green, I thought, well, it's not quite, I wanted more dimension. So I just went through and added white, and my line is kind of wonky, and I don't mind. I like it like that. Kind of looks like a natural branch or whatever. And then I just put some little dots with my paintbrush. The paintbrush that I used, I looked all over the house for the one I really wanted to use, and I couldn't find it, of course. But I just used a little, it's kind of a flat brush. I used that to do the laurels. I wished I would have had one that had a rounder tip on it so that you could get that like pointiness. Like you could start over, let me show you. You could start over here and then come out, and it would give you that point. I really wanted that brush, but anyway, I just worked with what I had right now. And then I also used this striping brush. This was in my one of my paint sets, and I used this to go in and do the accents of white, and I went around the wreath again with it, and this was much easier to paint with. I also thought about using this. I had a couple of these, but it's all dried out, and I'm kind of ticked off that it's all dried out because these things are expensive and I only got to use it a couple times. But this would work if you wanted to use one of these painter markers to go around and do some of the painting, because that would make it a lot easier for you if you're scared of using acrylic paints. I also thought about using Sharpies on the wood, but the thing with Sharpies on the wood is Sharpies on wood will bleed. So that's not a good idea. Um, and so now that I'm done with it, I'm going to take out this jute rope, and I'm going to give it a coat of like white, or not white, jeez. I'm going to give it a coat of like gloss, spray paint glossy, like paint to just seal everything in, so that maybe I'll use a mat. I don't know. I got to think about that now. But I'm going to seal it in, and then I'll put the trim at the bottom here. That trim is really inexpensive. I know it at Home Depot or Lowe's or whatever. And then on the back of it, the piece that will go on the back will look, it'll be a piece of wood, and it's going to look like, oh, I wanted to tell you guys, when you're painting, have a piece of paper, have a cloth here to dry your brushes off, because once you clean your brushes, you don't want the water still stays in this, the metal nib right here. Water still stays in there. So if you go to paint, it can water down your paints and make a mess. So after you clean your brushes, always like dry them off on a paper towel or something. And then practice on paper. You could practice this design on paper, and and get good, get better at it, and then go to the wood if you're not comfortable, starting out right away. So this is what the back will look like. It's going to be a piece of wood cut like this. How am I going to do this with holding the phone? I'm trying to draw through here. It's basically going to be this section over here that I'm circling. That will be the back, and it will be like an easel. I'm just going to leave it sit on my counter like that all the time, and then have that little tray down here, that little trim piece, so that my tablet can lean against it and I can look at recipes to cook. So that's today's video, guys. I am really excited about how it turned out. I love it. And when it gets fully finished, you can run over to my Instagram. Be sure to subscribe over there, follow me over there, and you'll be able to see a finally finished picture of it when I get it all the way done. So, all right, guys, thanks for watching.